Lover.
Bek Lover, he's always undercover. Bek Lover, that's word to your mother. Bek Lover, this is no other. Bek Lover, he'll always be your brother.
'Cause he's Bek Lover, Bek Lover. 'Cause he's Bek Lover, that's word to your mother. 'Cause there's no other, there's no other. Bek Lover.
Here we go.
Always
Another
be
episode
your brother.
of the Interesting Times podcast. We're streaming live. So if you're tuning in, you're some of the first on this amazing episode where I gather all the news, all the stories, all the rumors, all the gossip, and I try to keep you in the know of what's coming next. But only God knows the future, so we give all glory and praise to the Creator who has knowledge of all things. And us, with our limited capacity, we try to understand this life that is beyond comprehension. And as hard as life can be to understand, I think the hardest thing in the world to understand for most people is just really how insane the people that are in power are and why they do the things that they do that really don't benefit the masses, don't benefit humanity, don't benefit me and you. And trying to understand that and make logic of it, there's only one logical answer. They're evil, they're selfish, and they don't care about anyone else except themselves and each other. That is my perception. If it's your first time tuning in, welcome to the Bek Lover podcast. We're in the top 5% on Spotify, top 2% in the world. We're not sponsored, we're not controlled. We spit what we feel. I say we, it's me and my team. And I appreciate all the support because we wouldn't have gone this far without all of you that are tuning in. So make sure you hit a sub button. Make sure you drop a like and a comment. It really helps my algorithm. Tell your friends there's a new place to get some news. And let's jump into the stories. It's on its way. I've been saying it for months. It's been hovering in the background. This story of the bird flu. Now, I've been talking to a lot of people since I got back from my trip. A lot of people in my close family, parents, siblings, have been struggling with this respiratory illness. I had one. I'm on antibiotic right now as we speak. Everyone I seem to speak to here in the New York City area is saying the same thing. 1 to 2 to 3 members of the household. People are saying a lot of people are calling out sick. My opinion, pay attention to the sky. Every time those lines start zigzagging back and forth all over the sky, I know people think it's some crazy theory. I notice people seem to suffer from respiratory symptoms the next day, the next couple of days. Pay attention to your skies. If you live in the U.S. and you live, they were doing it all day in Miami when I was there. They did it in Aruba. Pay attention to the sky. You don't got to take my word for it. There's something weird going on. And I'm not talking about the drones that no one's talking about anymore, except if you saw that podcast with Sean, for those of you that are awake. And no one's really talking about the drones anymore. It's like, it's just crazy when you think about it. 1 minute, oh my God. Next minute, no one's talking about it. Today, a lot happened in Washington, D.C., so we're going to cover what's probably coming down the pipeline. We're going to cover Justin Trudeau, the commie, has stepped down. The question is his replacement going to be even worse? I was so happy to see, and so unexpectedly, that the Prime Minister of Canada just resigned. We're going to get into that a little bit. And whatever else is interesting, because that's what we do here on the Bek Lover podcast. We gather all the news and all the stories from all over the world, and we put it together for you, and I give you my crazy twist on things, and I invite your comments and your analysis. I don't claim to be God, just someone searching for the truth like the rest of you. So, here we go. The birds are falling from the sky. Birds are falling from the sky. This is reported by 69 News. You got to love that number. WFMZ.com. Birds falling from the sky. nonprofit confirms at least 35 snow geese test positive for bird flu in the Lehigh Valley. A wildlife non-for-profit in the Poconos, that's about an hour and 30 minutes away from Manhattan, has confirmed dozens of snow geese in various parts of Lehigh Valley have tested positive for H5N1, also known as the bird flu. This, as the Pennsylvania Game Commission announced, it suspects bird flu killed hundreds more. So hundreds and thousands of birds are dying less than an hour and a half away from New York City, in one of the most densely populated parts of America. So that's going on. WRAL News reports quademic surge, several hospitals limiting visitors during spike and respiratory illnesses. Maybe some of you can hear the congestion in my nose. It goes away, it comes back. It goes away. I mean, I hope this antibiotic works. You might not have a Bek Lover here much longer. How many of you that are watching now or watching this live, how many of you have been struggling with these illnesses or these respiratory situations? Now, is it flu season? Isn't it cold season? Yes, you got to give it to that. Do I feel like I'm dying? No. I feel like I caught a cold. I was congested. Okay. Nothing out of the ordinary. But some of my family members have been struggling for a few weeks now. So it is what it is. In any event, they're starting to put light restrictions in places like California, places like New Jersey, typical blue states, right? We know what they did in 2019. For the past couple of weeks, we have seen a pretty drastic rise in flu and RSV. Historically, I would have said we're kind of returning back to pre-pandemic patterns of both flu and RSV. The flu and RSV season was slightly delayed, but now cases are beginning to spike with holiday travel. It's pretty much doubled over the past couple of weeks, and we're pretty much at the peak of it right now. If you go back to 2019, the peak of RSV and flu were right around January, February. So I would say based on national trends and what we're seeing across North Carolina right now in our emergency departments, I would anticipate a peak around February for flu. The different viruses are already wreaking havoc in hospitals across the Triangle. 5 people have died of the flu in North Carolina during the last week of December. Every year when we have respiratory virus starting to surge, I usually call the emergency department the canary in the coal mine for the rest of the hospital. That's when you see waiting room crowding, emergency room crowding, where a lot of people come in, especially around the holidays when clinics are and offices are closed and there's nowhere else to go but the emergency department, especially when you're having difficulty breathing and these types of symptoms. Okay? It is flu season, so, nothing out of the ordinary except birds that are falling out of the sky in Pennsylvania. All the areas where the drones were, by the way. These spikes in respiratory illness in all the areas that the drones were flying over our heads. Just a little fun fact. This is reported here by the KATC.com. State health officials report first bird flu death. We can't wait to have the counters on the television screen at the bottom. Keep us in a state of, oh my God, how many? Oh my God. Okay, coming soon, I promise you. The Louisiana Department of Health reports the patient who had been hospitalized with the first human case of highly pathogenic avian influenza, also known as bird flu, in Louisiana in the U.S. has died. The patient was over the age of 65 and was reported to have underlying medical conditions. There you go. Keyword. Over 65, underlying conditions. They contracted bird flu after exposure to a combination of non-commercial backyard flock and wild birds. The department expresses its deepest condolences to the patient's family and friends, okay? It's coming. It's coming, folks. Drop a comment if you think they're going to try to lock it down again. Now, remember, Donnie Boy is going to be in office, and what's interesting is, why I don't hold my breath with him is because he was in power the last time. He was pushing for people to put their warp speed. We're going to do warp speed. I don't trust any of them. No one. I believe in a much deeper and devious and nefarious agenda. And unless this guy steps in and restores this nation and the freedoms that entail it and repeal laws like the Patriot Act, I don't buy it. I don't trust no one. No, is she better than the left? Yeah, for some things. But we're talking about a totalitarian move for the whole world. Anyone pushing lockdowns, taking treatments that haven't been tested, losing freedom because of that is not on the side of humanity. And he needs to prove himself. So if this thing goes on, which if I was predicting, this will ramp up right around February. March, full speed if they try to pull the same game they did last time. That's what I think. The problem is it really dangerous? You see, last time it wasn't, but we were terrified that it was. What happens if this time it is, and we're not scared because we're mad at what they did last time? I mean, you gotta, like when you're playing chess in life, you know, it's okay to be cautious. You know, even I was cautious in 2019 until I knew that this thing wasn't as bad as they said it was. Okay, I took every precaution in the beginning. Why? Because the only information I had was on the TV. You saw people dying, and how do you not take precautions? But once I realized what the game was, about a month and a half, that mask came off, and I was fighting in stores and fighting for my kids to have no mask in school, and I went all out once I realized it wasn't what they were telling us. When they were telling me I could eat peanuts on an airplane and I can take my mask off, but I can't keep it off on a packed airplane, was the straw that broke the camel's back for me back then. Another virus that's spreading that's going to hurt the U.S. is the BRICS system. And I ain't talking viruses, I'm talking currency. The BRICS nations have expanded with 9 new partner countries. Now it is half of the world's population and 41% of the global economy that is rallying behind this organization of nations. BRICS, the global South-led forum for economic cooperation, continues to grow in influence as it seeks to de-dollarize and transform the international monetary and financial system, which would mean serious repercussions for Americans and what their money can purchase and the value of the dollar on the global field, my friends. And because we're in a global economy, because we were sold out by our former presidents and senators and congresspeople who allowed all of our commerce and work and labor to be exported and our technology and our secrets, now we're in a position to lose our dominance also on the monetary stage. So it's coming, my friend. After admitting 4 new members in 2024, BRICS officially welcomes 9 new nations as partner countries on January 1st. Belarus, Bolivia, Cuba, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Thailand, Uganda, Uzbekistan, has the name Bek in it. With its 9 members and 9 partners, BRICS now makes up roughly half of the global's population and more than 41% of GDP. What are your views on the BRICS? I think if this thing comes out, it can really hurt the dollar big time. Big time. Okay, the petrodollars days are limited, but even if this doesn't happen, the way they're printing money, the way inflation is spiking, the amount of damage that's been done already, I mean, I really don't see the dollar doing too well too much longer. Taiwan suspects China of latest attack on undersea cables. A Cameroon-flagged tanker could not be boarded due to rough seas and steamed on towards South Korea. Taiwan suspects that China was behind the cutting of an international undersea telecom cable early Friday morning. Taiwan authorities said that although the Shunjin 39 is registered in Cameroon, it belongs to Jiyang Trading Limited of Hong Kong, headed by Guo Wanji, a citizen of China. You love the pronunciation, yo. I'm getting good at this, huh? I was saying that like I was born and raised in China, man. Chunghua Telecom, which is a part of international consortium that owns the cable, said it had been able to reroute telecom traffic to other cables and that service continued uninterrupted. The 500 million Trans-Pacific Express cable has linked countries in East Asia with the United States West Coast since 2008. Taiwan has experienced several dozen incidents of damage to its underwater telecom cables in recent years without being able to definitively identify the source of the attacks. What do you think? Done on purpose or an accident? And is China getting ready? I don't know. And would Trump being in office stop China moving in on Taiwan? What are your thoughts? Drop a comment. But I believe their days are numbered. Sooner or later, I believe China will make the move and will take over that island. In the previous episode, I told them if I was Taiwanese, a.k.a. freedom-loving Chinese, I'd have a plan in place for scorched earth. If they overrun the island, make sure they never get control of those computer chip making facilities and the technology, just out of spite. North Korea's Kim oversees successful test of new hypersonic missile. Rocket Man's doing good. I guess a little help from their Russian friends, and they're fighting in the Ukraine on behalf of Russia. So Russia gave him a little love with some tech. He's hypersonic, folks. So, Kim Jong-un is hypersonic. It was North Korea's first missile launch since November 5th and coincided with a visit by U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken to South Korea, where he pledged bilateral and trilateral cooperation, including Japan, to respond to Pyongyang's growing military threats. The test occurred less than 2 weeks before U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, who held unprecedented summits with Kim during his first term and has touted their personal rapport, returns to office. The missile was fired on the outskirts of Pyongyang and flew some 1,500 kilometers at 12 times the speed of sound and reached a maximum altitude of nearly 100 kilometers before accurately landing at a target off the East Coast. Rocket Man is now hypersonic. Yes, he is. Could you imagine, man, living in North Korea, man? What an existence, man. For those of you that don't know, if you go check out my older podcast, I had an amazing guest named Wally G on my show. He is one of the greatest ping pong players to ever have walked the earth. You can catch him at Spin in the city. It's a fun place to play ping pong and have drinks if you're into that type of stuff. It's just a good place to go on a date or hang out with your family and friends. In any event, Wally G went to North Korea to play ping pong in an exhibition match, and it was crazy. And that podcast is one you should check out. Check out on YouTube, Bek Lover, Wally G podcast. It'll pop up. He said the minute he landed there, he instantly regretted ever stepping foot in the place. Now some wonderful news, because I hate his guts. I'm so glad he's gone. If you're Canadian and you miss this guy, you're a loser. If he's not Fidel Castro's son, I'll put my head in crap. That's my educated guess. So don't sue me. You kind of look like him, man. And you acted like him. Trump reacts to Trudeau's resignation. Many people in Canada love being the 51st state. President-elect Trump on Monday reiterated his suggestion that Canada should become the 51st state. Many people in Canada love being the 51st state. The U.S. can no longer suffer the massive trade deficits and subsidies that Canada needs to stay afloat. Justin Trudeau knew this and resigned. If Canada merged with the U.S., there would be no tariffs, taxes would go away. Yo, is Donald Trump really going for Canada, man? Is he really going for Canada? I mean, I go to Canada and I feel like I'm in America, kind of, except for all the A's and the O's. A-O. I think Canada has some amazing places to visit. I love Montreal. I love visiting my family in Vancouver. British Columbia is just breathtaking if you've never been there. It's such a gorgeous place. The climate's a lot milder than you would think, And it's right above Seattle. So you could fly into Seattle. You can walk downtown Seattle in about 2 minutes. See the first original Starbucks. Looks like all the rest of them. Throw the fish at Pike's Market. Hop in your car. Drive north. And in 2 hours, 2.5 hours, max I think it is, you're in Vancouver. Beautiful city, man. Great vibes. Shout out. What a beautiful country to have been run. Do you think this is when he told him, he's like, listen, if you don't get out of office, Trump told them, because they had their meeting, right? He probably told him, if you don't get out of your office, we're going to release the tapes. Who the hell knows? But he's gone, the communist, the one that took Canadians' rights to bear arms away from them. I'm so happy this piece of crap is gone, but you can never be too happy because maybe the person filling in his shoes is even worse, even more of a globalist. You don't know. He was horrible during the 2019 and what he did to the truckers and how horrible his laws were and the way he was acting during the shutdowns of 2019. Who's coming in his position? I don't know. If anybody from Canada does, drop a comment. U.S. transfers 11 prisoners out of Guantanamo Bay. The U.S. on Monday transferred 11 prisoners out of Guantanamo Bay. The 11 prisoners were Yemeni nationals, according to the Defense Department. President Biden has continued the mission of Obama administration to transfer prisoners out and wind down operations at the site that has become infamous for accusations of torture and abuse as the U.S. carried out the war on terrorism. Several inmates are likely to remain for now, including the alleged 9/11 mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, known as KSM, and 4 of his conspirators, including KSM. 4 of the 5 are set to stand trial beginning this week. The transfers this week were authorized for one detainee, Tawfiq Nasir Awad al-Bihani, by an executive order signed by President Obama in 2009. The others were authorized by a review board. Although different processes, each of the 10 Yemeni detainees underwent a thorough interagency review by career professionals who unanimously determined all detainees as transfer eligible, consistent with the national security interest of the U.S. One of the detainees transferred was Sharaki Al-Haj, who spent more than 2 years at the CIA site before transferring to Guantanamo Bay. From what I understand, these guys were tried for 9/11 stuff. I'm not sure. There's different reports out there. TikTok is still in danger, and a lot of people don't know what's going to happen. But the U.S. Supreme Court will hear arguments on Friday from TikTok and its China-based owner, ByteDance, which is seeking to block a law signed by President Joe Biden that will ban the short-form video app beginning January 19th, unless it is divested from ByteDance due to national security concerns. He wasn't worried about his son or his laptop or the political dealings, of which he pardoned him for, and the Ukraine and all that stuff. That was not national security threats, but TikTok's a national security threat. We live in such a comical world. We really, really do. We really live in an upside-down clown world. He wasn't worried about business dealings of his son and backdoor deals and trade deals that were horrible for the U.S. and shutting down pipelines and all this other stuff, national security threats. But he's worried about TikTok. He's worried about people putting Tide Pods in their mouth and making music videos. That's how he's going to protect America. It wasn't all the years of backdoor deals of selling our country down the water and letting our industry go overseas and letting China get our military secrets and them sending spies who have worked for many of our tech companies, taking back their secrets and technology. They operate as a hive, and most Americans want to fight each other over whether a boy can call himself a girl or not. That's what we're fighting over, while our enemies were dismantling us, piece by piece. But TikTok, now we're going to ban TikTok. We're going to save America. We're going to save America from China. Forget that we gave them all the business. We allowed slave labor into the world labor pool. We allowed them to get the technology. We outsourced everything and took away a lot of blue-collar jobs and turned places like Detroit into a ghetto overnight. We're gonna protect America by banning TikTok, so teenagers can't go. That's how we're gonna save America. Thank you, Joe. Keeping us safe. We appreciate you. So we got past the dangerous day today. That's some good news. Trump was certified today. Trump was made official as Harris presides over election certification 4 years after the January 6th riot. Exactly 4 years after a mob of Donald Trump supporters perpetrated the worst attack on the U.S. Capitol since Major General Robert Ross ordered British soldiers to set it ablaze more than 2 centuries before. It's just comical at this point, the way the media spins it. I'm sorry. I don't back insurrection. But it was a very, very strange incident that day. A lot of different people involved, ushering them in, giving them guided tours. An insurrection, people usually have weapons. But whatever you want to say, media, whatever you want to say with your nonsense. The good news is he got in. He got in. There's 1 day left. That's the 20th. But the day before that, why is he hosting a rally? Why is he creating the potential risk of something happening one day before he gets in office. I don't think it was a wise move. I really don't. Just coast in there, dude. Enough with the, I'm the best, we won. Like, okay, you won. So far, they've been kind of calm. More calm than I expected. I was more worried. Like, just get in office, bro. We don't need the rally the day before. We don't need any potential fireworks going off. We really don't. I think it's a stupid move. I really, really think it's a stupid move. I really do. You know? Why open yourself to the risk of something happening? Look at how they twisted January 6th. You have Americans that have been held without trial, without habeas corpus, thanks to rules like the Patriot Act. These are things that need to be reversed. You have constitutional rights. I don't care, guilty, not guilty, until proven guilty. And what happened to some of them are, there's no denying, unconstitutional. If we don't stand for, even for people we don't like, the same can happen to you. Don't you understand why it's important to have legislation and laws that can be easily read and understood by every American? You have rights as an American. And one of them is you can't be held without trial. You have to be charged, and, you can't just be held indefinitely. It's crazy. Trump plans to immediately reverse Biden's ridiculous ban on new oil and gas drilling along the U.S. coast. President-elect Donald Trump said he plans to reverse Biden's new ban on offshore drilling along most of the U.S. coastline, but he faces major roadblocks under a 70-year irrevocable law. Throughout his 2024 presidential campaign, Trump vowed that if he was elected, he would expand oil and gas drilling in an effort to bolster American-made energy. It's ridiculous. I'll unban it immediately. Immediately, I will unban it, Trump said on the Hugh Hewitt show. I will ban this law. We can't let that happen. My Trump impression sucks. I just realized it's just horrible. So, yeah, there's a lot going on, but not as crazy as I thought it would be. Honestly, I was worried about today. But I'm also a little worried about how calm it's been so far. Judge denies Trump's plea to delay Friday's sentencing on his hush money conviction. Judge Juan Merchan has denied Donald Trump's request to postpone his Friday sentencing for his hush money conviction. The judge said in a filing Monday, Trump's lawyers are likely to appeal Merchan's decision to a New York appeals court. Earlier Monday, Trump's lawyers filed an appeal urging a New York appellate court to overturn Merchan's two recent rulings that upheld his conviction in the hush money case, while separately urging the judge to postpone Trump's sentencing while he appeals. Trump's legal maneuvers come on the same day that he was certified as the winner of the 2024 presidential election, and 4 years since he tried to overturn his election loss and his supporters rioted, that's correct, at the U.S. Capitol. Last week, Merchan rejected Trump's attempt to throw out his conviction because he's been elected president, scheduling Trump's sentencing in the hush money case for Friday, though Merchan made clear he would not sentence him to any jail time. So I guess he's got to go in, or he gets arrested for being contempt of court, just like Giuliani is held in contempt, the hero that saved New York City. Giuliani is held in contempt of court but avoids jail. Federal judge has held Rudy Giuliani in civil contempt of court twice, Monday for failing to adequately respond to two requests for documents and information sought by two Georgia women who won $148 million from him, bro. It's just crazy, man. It's just wild how much money they awarded just because he voiced his opinion of these women. Crazy to me. I bet you this is one of the first people who gets pardoned by Trump. I'll bet my life it happens in the first month. Let's see if I'm right. God knows best. Bet you in the first month. The Middle East has been a little crazy as usual, unfortunately. But they're getting closer, supposedly, to negotiating a ceasefire. A list of 34 hostages who would be released in a deal between Israel and Hamas has triggered intense drama in Israel and a gut-wrenching situation for the families of the hostages. So what is the list? Does it indicate Gaza's ceasefire negotiations are progressing? And where does President-elect Trump fit into this? So, Netanyahu vows to settle accounts after 3 Israelis were killed in the West Bank shooting. The vehicles were targeted around Route 55 in a Palestinian village in the West Bank. According to Israeli authorities, the road, which snakes through the northwestern bank, 2 women in 1 car were shot dead and a man in a second car. Further, 8 people were injured in the attack, including the bus driver who was shot in his limbs. In a statement on X, Bibi said, "We will find the abhorrent murderers and settle accounts with them and with all those who aided them. No one will get away." Well, they better not carry any pagers or cell phones or walkie-talkies. Erdogan, the ruler of Turkey, he said he's ready to intervene if Syria splits. I predict Syria is nowhere near out of the woods. I know it's been relatively calm there, but I think we're going to have an Iraq situation there. I think you're going to have insurgency, different faction. The Kurds want their piece of land. The Syrians, the this, the that, the Turks. Then you got the PKK. This thing's going to, I think it's going to spiral out of control again. I really do. We'll have to wait and see. Here's a video, very interesting video of a Iranian cleric who's yelling at a girl because she's not covered with the hijab, which is like mandatory in places like Iran, the covering that women are supposed to wear. So she goes up to the cleric and just takes his turban off his head and wraps it around her head. Not a big deal, but it might be a big deal for her, man. She might get in serious trouble out there. I hope she's okay. But let's take a look at this video. You can see her taking the turban off the cleric's head. She's saying something to him. And she's now wrapping her head. Who knows what she's saying? If you're Iranian, drop a comment. I'd love to know what she was saying. But at an airport, I bet you she got in trouble. What makes me amazed is that the politicians don't get in trouble. Any politician that supports a bill that's posted here by Representative Tim Burchett, he's a congressman representing Tennessee's 2nd District. And what is depressing is the fact that he reposted Derek Evans. Congressman Tim Burchett calls for President Trump to end the funding of the Taliban. The U.S. is currently funding the Taliban to the tune of $40 million per week. I would like to know, how do you feel as a 9/11 survivor, as someone who lost family on 9/11, as a first responder that had to deal with it? Many of you lost your lives in the aftermath of 9/11. To the servicemen and women who were sent when George Bush Jr. said, we're going to take out the Taliban. They took down the buildings. They aided Osama bin Laden. And we got to go into Afghanistan to protect America and its freedoms. We're going to take your freedoms through the Patriot Act. And we're going to invade Afghanistan and then Iraq on false pretenses. And every time we told you that they're terrorists, we left them in power with more weapons and more money than we found them. Because that's what you do to your enemy that you're trying to destroy. You give them more money and weapons. So how can you explain that to the American people, that you are funding the group that you went to invade the country for because they supposedly aided in hitting America on September 11th? It makes no sense. And the fact that a U.S. congressman is posting this on their X account means that it is real, that we are sending money to the Taliban. How do you explain that to all the soldiers that you sent to fight against them in America? I'd love to hear the response from our government. Is there a response for that? Or was it all made up? What really happened on 9/11? Because this type of news here, to me, makes me think, I don't believe nothing they told us about 9/11. Nothing. Millions of dead people. Supposedly on a war that was started by the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. Yet the American government and Israel give money to the guy that overthrew Syria. So you explain this to me, and he is supposedly Al-Qaeda. This is public information. Just like this congressman is posting right here. How can you explain fighting a war against the Taliban and we're paying them money and we left them in power? So what was the point of Afghanistan? What was the point? Was it just to get opium? Was it just to get some kind of access to some minerals that were there that we needed? What was can you tell the American people, what was the real reason we invaded Afghanistan? And the people that hijacked the plane, they were Saudi. Like, when are we going to wake up as Americans, man? We've been lied to about everything, used our trust. If you're a parent of a soldier that lost a child in Afghanistan and Iraq and those invasions, my heart goes out to you. I don't know how you could see news like this and not have your heart bleed all over again, because you realize your child died for nothing. This is why I'm against war, especially when these people tell us to go fight. You explain this to me. If anyone can give me a logical reason of why we're giving them money and weapons when these are the people that supposedly attacked our country and our buildings and 1,000-something Americans lost their lives at, you explain to me how that makes sense, and I'll never podcast ever again. With that said, I really appreciate you. I am going to do the West Huff response soon, I promise. Okay? And it'll be up soon. I don't want to rush it. I'm going to address a lot of stuff that he's talked about. Don't forget who told you about Billy Carson long before these people. Go watch the episode, Bek Lover, New Age Prophets. I get into Billy Carson long before it was cool to call him out. But there's a lot of people I'm coming after in 2025, so I hope you're ready. You want to play? We're going to play. Do you want to go to war? Okay, we go to war. Do you want to debate God? We're going to debate God. We'll debate it. You, the audience, will decide who makes more sense. In any event, respect to everybody, regardless of their faith. That's side work, side projects, side content. Jim Belushi just posted a cool video of him making borek, or pita as Albanians call it, with his cousin and Guy Fieri. I found that to be awesome, and he reposted me on his stories, and I can't believe Jim Belushi follows me, man. My parents, my dad loved the Blues Brothers, and as an Albanian, you know, it's really cool, man. And I had met Jim once, and I could barely even shake his hand because it was busy, and he was at the grand opening of the Brigada in Atlantic City, and he was performing with Dan Aykroyd, and we're talking about, you know, it was just really cool to run into him in real life. And now he follows me on Instagram. In any event, I hope your New Year's off to a good start. Don't lose track of your goals. And even if it wasn't the new year, if these are real goals, then they should be done anyway. It doesn't matter if it's a new year, old year. I didn't wait for the new year to start losing weight last year. You know, whatever it is, don't lose sight of what it is you need to do. Please. Stay focused. It's hard. I know I procrastinate a lot too. I really do. Procrastination destroys so much. Don't let another week go by, another month go by. Start. It's okay. Even the smallest step. You can't do it all in one day. We all have goals and aspirations. Put some effort. Don't let the year, look how fast time goes. Put some effort in. You'll be happy you did. I promise you. Don't forget, this is your boy, Bek Lover. I'm always bringing the heat. We live in interesting times. I hope you're prepared. By the way, I was at the store. There was no eggs anywhere. Now, it's not just eggs, by the way. Okay? But think about how many things are made with eggs. Pasta, bread, all this stuff that's made with eggs. There was no eggs in my supermarket. None. And I was in a massive supermarket. I was in a small deli. No eggs. It's coming, folks. Get your toilet paper now before people fist fight you for a roll. Have 6 months worth of food and water. Have some money in your hand. Anything can happen. And I've been telling you, I predict great volatility the second this guy steps in, if he steps in. The 19th of this month, dangerous time. In any event, we got to do what we do. We pray to God. We hope for the best. And that's all we can do. This world is crazy. I appreciate all of you. I thank you for your support. I'm going to check out. I got work to do. Stay tuned here. You always know I'll do the homework for you. This is your boy, Bek Lover. Your support is always appreciated. May this year be the best year so far. To the next time.